Welcome back. Just before we went on leave, I went for that break. We mentioned that we have a few portions left for cold chain logistics, but when I looked back, I saw just a couple of slides which basically explains the compartments. There are some additional slides. There were some additional slides explaining the different compartments, units or departments we have in the food processing center. We have already discussed what a food processing center is all about, what comprises a food processing center, what are the units, what are the departments they have. So, we are not going to discuss any further on cold chain logistics. So, we have come to the end of the cold chain logistics, but I would request you to study as much as possible. We are in the process of uploading study materials. We have already done a few before. We are going to do further. There are many more study materials and videos that will be uploaded in the website. You can always go download and see and read them. It is also very important, and though I did mention that we are trying to figure out a day when a workshop can be conducted, or a session can be, or a few sessions can be conducted where students who from the very beginning have attended these sessions, we can meet together and we can exchange. You can clear your doubts. If you have some clarifications required, I can answer them, and I am trying to work it out with APSSDC, with the concerned authorities and the district managers to set up some workshop. And as discussed earlier, we also will very soon you will hear from us regarding evaluation, a brief MCQ type questions of evaluation examination, and I would encourage you to attend, because at the end of the session we will probably see the successful candidates who have actually attended the course, and they have attended these exams, and successful candidates we will issue certificates, which will be an additional qualification to your existing whatever you are doing at the moment. Having said that, while we have discussed, we have explained what cold chain logistics is all about, I would encourage you to try and visit cold storage plants in your areas. And I know for sure in Andhra Pradesh, I have seen them myself, there are cold storage facilities available. I will try and see whether people who are interested can be we can arrange for a visit to one of the cold chain facility, where you can see for yourself how the operation takes place, how shipments are received, how they are stored, how they are sorted, how they are packed, how they are cleaned, what are the different layers, how they are categorized into frozen, chilled, cold, etc., etc. How is the logistics process, how temperature is maintained, who maintains the warehouse, how the supervision takes place, how reefer vans are used, how shipments are unloaded, how they are loaded for the distributors, etc., etc., etc. So, cold storage basically is a part of a very, very important part of the entire cold chain supply chain, supply chain. So, it is important while we are studying through books and through the lectures and through the current sessions. It is also important that we make an attempt to visit the centers to see the function in reality. So, as discussed earlier, we are through with cold chain logistics, and next we are going to discuss about distribution center and fulfillment centers. These are relatively new concepts in India, but these are not at all new in other advanced countries like the Europe or USA, Canada, Australia, etc. We have seen in the last couple of decades that e-commerce as an industry has grown, and it's growing every day, every year it is growing. Online purchase, online transactions are the order of the day. there are a huge volume, there are a huge number of transactions that are happening on the online marketplaces. There are several online marketplaces we all know. Few of them offering services, few are selling products. To name a few, the important or the ones that we can immediately relate to is Amazon or Alibaba or Flipkart or Snapdeal, etc., or Big Basket. So there are many of them. So online transaction, online purchase of products, of materials are becoming extremely important. So we are going to discuss today, we have to understand from where do these items are coming to us, from where are these items being delivered to us, where do they originate from, how do they come from. You know, these online marketplaces, they are basically, they are connecting us with the actual manufacturer. They are marketplaces, the way you have marketplaces. Of course, we are not here to discuss about marketplaces, we are here to discuss about distribution centers. But distribution centers are an integral part, are a very integral part in the entire e-commerce system. And the concept of distribution center or fulfillment center have evolved because of the e-commerce model or the popularity of e-commerce and the way the e-commerce industry has evolved and grown over a period of time. So there is a difference, there is an ambiguity, or people sometimes confuse and they think and they assume that a distribution center, a fulfillment center and a warehouse are similar, and which is not, which is a myth, which is wrong. So in this session or in the next couple of sessions, we are going to discuss, and as I said, we have to understand the function of distribution centers and the fulfillment centers in detail, because this is the sector which is going through some rapid growth. There is a lot of modernization, lot of technology, and there is a lot of importance and significance about the distribution centers and the fulfillment centers today. If we have to look at the current scenario, and if we have to see the potentiality of e-commerce and the retail sectors in the next couple of decades, then we need to, if you want to build a career in the field of logistics and supply chain, we have to understand the role of distribution centers and the fulfillment centers. Let's see the slides. To start with, a brief about warehousing. We are not going to discuss warehousing in details, we have already done earlier where warehousing was discussed as a separate chapter altogether. So warehousing, we know we store goods for future needs, for current needs, for distribution. It's a point of contact, it comes in between the manufacturer and the distributor, or the distributor, the retailer, or the retailer to the end customer. So it's basically a facility or a unit which connects the different players in the supply chain process, because goods one produce cannot be consumed immediately, so they need to be stored for a while. Goods which are produced, they do not go to a particular customer, so they are distributed to different customers, to different distributors, different distributors in turn distribute to the different retailers. So there is a need for the shipment to be stored for a while. So that's what the warehousing is all about, the goods coming and resting and waiting for a while. An arrangement by goods are stored when they are not immediately needed and are kept in such a manner to protect from damage. Obviously, we have discussed the economic and the service benefits of warehousing. There are benefits. We need to protect the items. We need to protect them from theft, we need to protect them from damages, etc., etc., etc. So that is the basically at a macro level is the benefit or the function of a warehouse. What is a distribution center? Let's read. There are a lot of words there are a lot of texts over here. So, I will draw your attention only to the ones, as always, to the some very key words or the key important areas of this particular definition. A distribution center is similar to a warehouse, not a warehouse. It is an order processing element, is a principal part as well as the order processing element of the entire order fulfillment process. That is, distribution centers are usually thought of as being demand driven. Distribution centers are set up closer to the customer to distribute goods which are shorter storage time. So, distribution centers are constructed based on primarily based on the need of the customer. Today, there are multiple products, and particularly when we refer to the e-commerce platforms, the online marketplaces, if you see the range of the products and the products are to be delivered to the customer at a particular assured time frame. So, the distribution centers cannot be far away from the customers. Warehouses, they are located centrally irrespective of, or it is not necessarily warehouse are close to the end customers. So, the distance of a warehouse from a customer may be long enough, but not a distribution center. Our distribution centers are much closer. So, a company would have, so warehouses are generally used by manufacturers, whereas distribution centers are used mostly by the e-commerce companies or the companies who are online marketplaces, because they are required to deliver multiple products to different customers at different regions, at different cities, at different locations at a pre-assigned and pre-assured time. So, to distribute, distribution is the key to a distribution center. The ease of distribution, the efficiency and promptness of delivery is what that we can relate a distribution center to. A fulfillment center, what is a fulfillment? Fulfilling all the aspects. So, a distribution center is a part of the fulfillment center, and we will, in the further slides, we will also discuss the difference between warehouses, fulfillment and distribution center for you to understand the basic differences of all these centers and the facilities. Let us go to the next slide. It all started with the concept of a go down. The go down are traditional today, even today we have go downs for materials which are stored in bulk, which does not require storage in a very systematic manner. It can be, there can be piles of shipment kept in a particular room or a facility. That is what a go down is all about, and the go down word actually historically comes from the two words. If you see go and down, whether it is a factory or a big family, they used to store, big joint families used to store their provisions, their rice, their spices, their food items and other daily needs in a room which was generally what we call is at a basement, and basements are generally at the below the ground floor. So, that is how the word go down has come from, that you have to go down to reach that particular facility which stores goods not in a very systematic or a structured manner. So, we have to understand go down, then to warehousing, then distribution center, fulfillment center, how these facilities have evolved over a period of time. So, let us see the slide for a while. Go down is an unorganized form of warehousing. Its Indian origin, generally personal in term of store, like one retailer or store has its own go down, and any place can be converted to go down by storing products. Whereas the warehouse, there are some parameters to be followed. there should be some specific height, ceiling, standard, security, sorting process, storage process, and there should be enough space for movement and cargo and employees. So, you can see a distinct difference between a godown and a warehouse. In godown, there is no specification in terms of the construction, a height. A godown can be a small facility, it can have any height, any dimension depending upon the need of the owner of the godown. So, the one word that differentiate godown from warehouse is systematic and organized way of storing goods. This systematic and organized process is visible in warehouse, but not in a godown. So, obviously, godowns, we can afford to use a godown for items which are not sensitive in nature, which has a longer life shelf, which are not easily damaged, which are not theft prone, which will not quickly attract pilferage. Those are the items that can be kept in a godown, but warehouses are items which require very organized way of storing goods, and also storing and retrieval of goods whenever they are required to be retrieved from the racks, from the place where they have been stored for dispatch, or even when they are received. Warehouses have places for receiving the shipment. They also have modern material handling machines for storing goods, for picking goods, for retrieval goods, for dispatch of goods. So, that is the basic between from godown to warehouse. See the next slide. What is a fulfillment center? We have been discussing, we just discussed about a distribution center, godown, and a warehouse. Now, we have to also understand what a fulfillment center is all about. When we know all the four of them, then only we will be able to relate, we will be able to differentiate, we will be able to understand the benefits of each of them, the role of each of these centers. We receive the shipment, fulfillment center receive, they package the shipment and ship the orders, goods based on the orders received. A company selling products directly to customers must deal with fulfillment. This term is often associated with e-commerce. Distribution and fulfillment center, ultimately who the customer is that each center is working towards. The distribution center's main customers are typically retail shops or other businesses who attend on selling the merchandise coming from the distribution center to another customers. So, a distribution center typically sells or typically distributes goods to other retailers. So, fulfillment centers is closely associated with the e-commerce process, because it involves packaging, labeling, distribution, and there are other multiple functions or benefits or services that are provided by a fulfillment center. That is the reason it is called fulfillment. So, it covers all the aspects of services as desired by the end customer. Let us go to the next slide. So, warehouse function, we know material storage, handling and information processing. The role of distribution center is to fulfill the orders, provide value added services, process work orders, pack as custom packing as required by the customer, tailor-made packing, embroidery, pick, pack and ship for the e-commerce companies. What is the difference, basic difference of a warehouse and a distribution centers? As we have already mentioned at the initial stage of this discussion, number of time we use them and we confuse them as the same place. It is not. Warehouse primarily a place of storage. Distribution is more dynamic, where orders are fulfilled and items are moved down from suppliers. It is received from the suppliers, from the manufacturers, from the farms, etc., and they are moved to the end customer. And in the process, they go through a number of processes, they go through a number of activities we have discussed earlier, like packaging or sorting or whatever it may be. Distribution centers are warehouse, and warehouses can look similar, but their functions are different. The job of the distributor is not just to store item, but also facilitate the movement of inventory down the supply chain. There are value services, value added services done by the distribution centers, like the repackaging, bulk breaking. Shipments are received in bulk in higher volumes, they are broken, they are segregated and distributed. They also provide technical support and also transportation. Warehouse do not provide transportation service, they only unload and load shipments to transport services allotted to them. They do not manage the transportation per se. Whereas the warehouse often contains goods which are manufactured and stored. It is already manufactured, where distribution centers often involve the moving of products from the order process centers to the warehouse themselves. We just mentioned that the warehouses evolving to distribution center. The key impact has come from the e-commerce industry. It is the e-commerce company or the online marketplaces, the aggregators, who connect different sellers or manufacturer to the large range of customers, who play the role of connecting the manufacturers, the sellers or the suppliers with the end customers. They have a responsibility to ease the transaction. There is a transaction. The transaction is ultimately primarily between the customer, end customers, and the suppliers who is selling the product. The e-commerce companies, they help, they facilitate the transaction. That is the reason they offer, and to do that, they are in need of these distribution centers, which facilitates, which benefits both the supplier. If you have seen if you have received an item from Amazon, whatever product it may be, you will see it is packed in an Amazon cover. All the labels, etc., that you receive or the invoices are from Amazon. So you can understand the products are received in bulk in a semi packaged manner from the supplier, whatever product it may be. Today online marketplaces, e-commerce companies, they are dealing in different range of products. Some are durables in nature, some are non-durable in nature, electronic goods, food products, gift items, confectionaries, toiletries, whatever, apparels, so telecom products, cell phones. So they receive these products in bulk, in big volumes from the suppliers, and then they use their distribution center to process. So they have number of customers who has ordered, so they have to match the supplies that has been sent or the product that has been sent by the suppliers or the manufacturer. They would pack it, they would sort it, they would send it to the final distribution center for speedy delivery to the customers. That is the basic role of the warehouse and the distribution center. A warehouse will only receive shipment as it is and would store them without doing any sort of processing, any sort of packaging or labeling or whatever it may be, which is done by the distribution centers. So, we are talking of impact of e-commerce. Let us go to the slide and see what is the kind of e-commerce. It has changed, it has revolutionized the conventional warehouse and the distribution operation. The emerging demand of retail cross-channel fulfillment are driving an environment characterized by increased customer expectation, volatile demand and increased costs. You also have to understand these distribution centers often play the role of reverse logistics center. There are a number of items. Now, warehouses typically they are not involved in receiving shipments which has been retrieved from the customer because they are damaged, they are not functioning, or they have been received short or in excess, etc. But a distribution plays the role of a center or a part of the reverse logistics process as well, because e-commerce, reverse logistics plays an important role in building the brand of an e-commerce company. If a customer is not happy with the item that he has received, he or she has received, he will send the shipment back for either repair or replacement or whatever it may be. So, they come back to these distribution centers, and the distribution centers again play the role of backward logistics, of providing the backward logistics service in terms of sorting, sending it to the different manufacturing units, different repairing units, different whatever. So, overall it is the e-commerce industry which has given the birth to distribution centers and fulfillment centers. Let us go to the next slide. Pressure on logistics and transportation. Customers have a lot of choice. They are very choosy, very demanding about when they should receive, where they should receive. So, distribution center stores are being asked to perform new processes traditionally reserved for distribution center, which is now omni-channel. So, if you see, it is the demand of the customer, the consumers are very demanding, they are very volatile. Their demand changes. If they are not happy with a particular distribution center or a company, he will switch over to others. So, it is extremely important that the e-commerce companies, they have performing a distribution center which is well organized, to deliver what the end customers require. So, what we are discussing right now is the impact of e-commerce on distribution center, or how distribution center is an effect of the booming e-commerce industry. So, we will discuss more on distribution center, we will discuss more on fulfillment center, and more so we are trying to give you to identify the basic differences between the warehouse. We are not discussing about go down anymore. We just we just mentioned go down just to give you a comparison what go downs are meant for. So, primarily we are going to discuss the differences or the benefits of a warehouse, of a distribution center and a fulfillment center. We are going to meet again this Saturday, and this Saturday we are going to complete this particular chapter and get into our next chapter, which is inventory management. Till such time, thank you.